welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different than I normally do here on this channel. I am going to do a video on brands that I do not source anymore, brands that just don't sell for me like they used to. A lot of these brands I used to pick up in my early days of Poshmark back a couple years ago, and since I have just learned that they don't sell like they used to, or they sit for a long time, so a lot of these I just don't pick up at all. And so I hope this is helpful for you, and I want to put a disclaimer here in this video to say that if these brands sell for you, definitely keep selling them. If you want to sell these, if they sell really well for you, then definitely keep picking them up and selling them. For me, these just don't sell, and I just end up sourcing other things that are gonna actually sell for me. So I just want to put a little disclaimer out there, because a lot of people like to listen to things that I say and take my advice, but again, this is not one of those videos where you have to listen to me to a T. If some of these brands sell for you, then definitely keep picking them up. They just don't really sell for me, and so I've realized that over time, and I just don't pick them up anymore because I'd rather pick up brands that sell well for me. And so if these are selling for you, definitely keep doing what you're doing, definitely keep selling them, and that's fine. But I'm just letting you know what brands don't sell for me, because a lot of people are always curious what brands that I sell and what brands that I don't sell. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first brand that I'm going to talk about right off the bat here is actually the brand Fabletics. So this brand used to sell pretty well for me when I used to pick it up back in the day, but I would actually pay a little bit more for it back then, but now I just can't get it to sell at all, and I end up having to sell it really, really cheap, and I just don't find that it's worth the turnover. And a lot of people, always swear by picking it up and they think it's a really good brand, but the problem is the retail value, you can get like 2 for $20 or whatever their sales are, so it's really hard to sell it like pretty high because people can just become a member and get it that way. So I found that this is actually a really tricky brand to sell, and I just don't really bother picking it up anymore. It's not one of those brands that I want to waste my time with, and it's just one of those brands that just had its moment and it no longer has the moment. And speaking of athletic brands, Lululemon is another one that I just don't pick up anymore. A lot of people swear by Lululemon, and this might come as a shock to a lot of you that, still swear by picking it up. I just can't sell it, and I've actually had 2 pieces in my closet for almost a year now, and neither of them have gotten any attention, any likes, nothing. And honestly, they're good sizes, they're good styles. I don't know, I can't figure out what's wrong, but I just don't want to waste my time picking it up anymore. It's just not selling like it used to. Back when I first started picking it up, I would sell it for $30, $40, $50, even up to $60 I think at one point, and now I can't seem to sell it over $20. So it's just not a brand that I pick up anymore. Okay, so the next brand that is on the list of brands that I don't pick up anymore is actually Pulitzer. So this is another brand that I actually used to sell a lot. Back when I first started reselling, I actually was donated 2 pretty expensive dresses from Pulitzer. One was a new with tag 100% silk dress that retailed for $199, and the other one was not 100% silk, but it was still a nice dress, and it retailed for about $150. Now, I was able to sell both of these over $100 back about 3-4 years ago at this point. And so that was when I started realizing, wow, this is a good brand to pick up. So I started picking it up more and more, and then I just wasn't able to sell it like I was those first 2 pieces. I was really struggling with any other pieces that I would pick up, so then I just stopped picking it up because it wasn't selling and it wasn't worth the, the wait time that it would take to sell. Okay, so the next brand that I do not pick up anymore is actually Mawell. So this is another brand that I used to swear by picking up. It would be one of those brands that I would tell people if they're in the thrift store with me, this is a brand to look for. They have, really good pieces, and they're really well made. And, people swear by their jeans, people swear by their stuff. And it's pretty expensive to begin with too, so I would have thought that the resale value would be there. I don't know if it's just too saturated at this point, or if maybe they just have too many deals, but I really can't seem to sell things like I used to with this brand, and so I just don't pick it up anymore. It's just not what it used to be, and anything that I sell nowadays, I just auction off in my live shows because it always ends up sitting. And another one similar to Mawell that just doesn't sell for me is actually Free People. So I've only actually sold 2 Free People items in my entire closet, and I found them at the Goodwill both times, and neither time did they really sell that well. In fact, the second time around, I ended up selling it for $4 in a live sale because it was sitting for a long time, And even the first time I had it, it didn't sell that well. And so I think a lot of people are catching on to that as well. A lot of people are saying they have an issue selling Free People. So I don't know if, you know, I don't know what's causing that. I know actually at one point, I thought Free People actually created a Poshmark page. I thought I heard rumors of that. But I don't know, I just don't, it doesn't sell, and it's too expensive to pick up to then not sell. And so I just don't bother with it anymore. And the next set of brands that I don't pick up anymore is actually any Anthro brands. So again, similar story to those first two, Mawell and Free People. This used to sell pretty well for me. I actually had a pair of new with tag pants that I got probably about 4 years ago. They were new with tag and they retailed for 110. I ended up having to sell them close to 40, and then anything after that that I picked up that was Anthro just didn't sell. It would sell really, really low, or it would take forever to sell. And I just didn't, you know, it wasn't worth it, and I ended up finding that I had so many other brands that were selling quicker, and so that was one of those brands that just it doesn't make the cut anymore because it just doesn't sell like it used to. Okay, so the last two brands I'm going to talk about in today's video are actually handbags, handbag brands, and they are, you know, designer brands, one being Dooney and Bourke and one being Michael Kors. So a couple of years ago, I used to sell both of these pretty frequently. I used to get bags from a lady in my neighborhood and I would sell them. And for a while, they were actually my top selling brands because I was able to sell them pretty well. And I was actually selling them pretty high, which they were my top sellers for quite some time. I was able to sell a couple over 200 and even over 100. And eventually I stopped being able to sell them, and to this day I still have some pieces in my closet that have been sitting for about 3 years now, and they just don't sell. And I relist it, I lower the price, I take new photos, whatever. I have a brand new bag that has absolutely no flaws, and I can't sell it for the life of me. I could send out an offer for $10 and it won't sell, and it's a $150 bag. So it's just, they just don't sell. And same thing with Michael Kors. Michael Kors used to sell pretty well. It's kind of one of those mediocre brands at this point where people just don't want to buy it resale value wise. And I know, like, when I go out with family and friends, they always say, like, oh, Michael Kors, that's a good brand, I'll, you know, pick that up for you. And I have to go and tell them that it just doesn't sell like it used to. The value of things just doesn't sell anymore. And I've realized that in the last couple of handbags that I've sold by Michael Kors, they've sold definitely lower. And I recently got a bag from a family friend that I'm going to sell for her, and I had to tell her that it's probably not going to sell at near the price that you were looking to get. So just an FYI, it's one of those brands that just doesn't sell anymore. And so I don't pick it up, even when I see clothing or anything like that. I don't pick it up because it just doesn't sell well, and it's not really worth the effort of listing it to then not sell it. Okay, so those are the brands that I'm going to talk about in today's video. Again, I have a list of way more brands, but I just figured this was going to get too long if I went through all of them. So if you want to see another one of these, I could talk about the rest of the list that I have. Again, I have some more good brands that a lot of people probably swear by that just don't sell for me. I could talk about those in that video if that is something that is interesting to you. Maybe give this video a like so I know that you like it, and so I know to make a second version. And if you want to see a video on brands that I actually do source that continue to sell well for me over time, some of them being really, really cheap brands and some being expensive brands, I could make a video on that as well. Again, that might be one of those things where you can listen to it, but you don't have to follow it to a T. And, you know, if some of those brands don't sell for you, then that's fine too. But a lot of people like to know what brands I sell and what brands I don't sell. So I figured these would be helpful videos. So if you want to see a video on brands that do sell well for me, I could definitely make that as well. Just leave a comment down below so I know that you're interested in that. But if you want to see another video on features that you should be using on Poshmark, you can click right here. And if you want to see how you could have some good success on Poshmark in 2024, some best practices that you should be following, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.